Okay, the Law and Licensing Committee, the chair, Chair Carol Lear, are you ready to give the report?
I'm ready. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll try to follow in this other format.
Item 8.2 was R277-302, and the committee discussed the rule, but actually delayed the discussion because there were so many questions till tomorrow's meeting. Item 8.3 was a companion piece to the previous item that has to be repealed once R277-302 is passed, so that was also delayed. Item 8.4, which is Board Policy 1002, Rulemaking Procedures, an amendment. The committee recommends that the board approve Board Policy 1002, Rulemaking Procedures, Draft 1.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve Policy 1002, Rulemaking Procedures, Draft 1. Any discussion? Any hands up? Vice Chair Cummins?
No hands.
Okay, seeing none, let's vote. Member Belknap?
Aye.
Member Bolter?
Aye.
Member Cannon?
Aye.
Vice Chair Cummins?
Aye.
Member Davis?
Aye.
Member Earl?
Aye.
Member Gravitt?
Aye.
Member Hanson?
Aye.
Member Haynes?
Aye.
Member Lear?
Aye.
Member Marsh?
Aye.
Member Newell?
Aye.
Member Thorpe?
Aye.
And Mark Huntsman's an aye. Okay, please continue. Voting was unanimous. Sorry.
5 is Rule R277-304, Teacher Preparation Programs. It was an amendment, and the committee discussed it. Now the committee moves that the board approve R277-304, Teacher Preparation Programs, Draft 2 on second and final reading.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve R277-304, Teacher Preparation Programs, Draft 2 on second and final reading. Discussion to the motion. Vice Chair Brittany Cummins, is there any hands up?
Board Member Belknap.
Member Belknap.
Thank you, Chair. I actually am interested in your conversation you had over this definition of competency and wondered where it came from and if it was brought forward by Sarah or who brought this definition.
I am not, I actually asked for the definition change, and I am trying to remember reaching if Ben Rasmus is on the line, or maybe Cindy Davis would recommend.
I could speak to it, Board Member Lear.
Thank you.
Okay, is that Angie?
Yes.
Okay.
Should I move forward? Thank you. Again, this is Deputy Superintendent of Policy, Angie Stallings, and Board Member Lear, you'll remember that we actually, as a committee, updated the definition based on recommendations also from Jennifer Thronson. So I think it's based on teaching and learning staff, but there was a committee discussion about that, and that is what we landed on. So it was kind of a joint drafting effort between the whole committee, but Jennifer Thronson provided the direction.
Thank you.
I remember that. Thank you.
Okay.
Board Member Scott Hansen has a hand.
Okay. Member Hanson.
Thank you. Looking at our packet, I only see a draft 1 in the packet, and the motion seems to be for a draft 2. Is that correct, or can someone help clear that up?
Maybe Angie can speak to that. I think the draft 2 was in response to the competency, the change in the competency definition, but let me ask Angie to speak to that.
Angie, can you speak to that?
I agree. It looks like draft 2 was not added to Civic Clerk. I apologize. Let me I can ask Sybil to upload that ASAP if you want to defer or move on, and then we can come back to this one before you vote.
Okay, I'm going to take the motion off the table. And
Question, Chair.
yes,
Are
please.
are we able to vote on that today if that wasn't posted before the meeting? Just for open meetings?
If we have a chance to, go ahead. If we have a chance. Go ahead.
Whenever, if you think of this as the fact that you always make amendments to rules, there's motions all the time. So as long as the rule number is on the agenda, you can make amendments at any time. And so, yes, as long as we get it up there and you look and you approve with the amendments that include, there weren't too many, and they will be highlighted with special colors. So you'll be able to quickly identify those new changes. So yes.
Take the motion off the table and then we'll bring it back and then everyone can go through it. We'll see it on the screen. And then I'll bring it back.
I also have a clarifying question, board member.
Okay, is that board member Lear?
Yes, I do. Yes, it is. I just wanted to see if that would be posted, Angie, on Civic Clerk. Is that where it will be posted?
Yes, it will. I apologize. I couldn't find my mute button. It will be on Civic Clerk, and I will send you an email once that is posted, letting you know that it's there.
Thank you. Next item. Want me to move on?
Yes, let me make sure I come back to 8.6.
8.5.
8.5.
8.5. Item 8.6. This was a discussion of R277-417, which was the title of is prohibiting LEAs and third-party providers from offering incentives or disbursement for enrollment or participation. And this was initially an amendment and continuation. We had some discussion in the board committee that we needed to perhaps discuss this more at a later meeting when we could get more feedback from other folks in the community, but we understood it had to be continued. So the motion from the committee is that the rule R277-417, third-party providers prohibiting LEAs and third-party providers from offering incentives or disbursement for enrollment or participation be continued on second and final reading.
Okay, so the motion before the board is a little different than what you just read. So I see.
And I read the wrong area, but it is only to continue the rule. That was the motion.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to. So I'll state the motion how I got it here. The motion for the board is that the board continue R277-417, prohibiting LEAs and third-party providers from offering incentives or disbursement for enrollment or participation on second and final reading. Is there discussion to that motion?
I see no hands.
Okay. I'll call for a vote. See no objection. Board Member Belknap.
Aye.
Board Member Bolter.
Aye.
Board Member Cannon.
Aye.
Vice Chair Cummins. Member Davis.
Aye.
Member Earl.
Aye.
Member Gravitt.
Aye.
Member Hanson.
Aye.
Member Haynes.
Aye.
Member Lear.
Aye.
Member Marsh.
Aye.
Member Newell.
Aye.
Member Thorpe.
Aye.
Member Huntsman's an aye. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, please continue.
Last item, 8.7, R277-712, competency-based grant programs. The committee moves that the board approve R277-712, competency-based grant programs, draft 1 on second and final reading.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve R2 77-712 competency-based grant programs draft 1 on second and final reading. Discussion to the motion. Any Vice Chair Cummins?
Board Member Earl,
Board Member Earl.
Yes, I have a question. When we're talking these competencies, and I've asked this a little bit before, I'm trying to understand if we're moving towards competencies, explain to me, they're not tied into our standards, from what I understand. So if they're not tied into standards, what are these competencies tied into? And I know we've said before, oh, well, that's to our portrait of a graduate competencies, but how? I'm just trying to understand how those competencies are based in Utah law. And as someone, just as I read through this, we're asking for competencies, we're asking for assessments, and they're having to prove that. So what is it I guess I'm asking, what is it we're asking him to do that's different than our standards that we pass?
Chair, might be a Jennifer Thronson question. Because
I'm going to see what staff has their hand up. Is there a hand up, Vice Chair Cummins?
there are currently no hands up, but if somebody would like to speak to it.
I think Sarah might be able to speak to it as well. And again, as already mentioned, this is Superintendent Dixon. This
Okay.
was a grant program, has been mentioned, that was legislated. And if you go into the document that's pulled up there now, and you look at your backup document, basically talking about it's an individualized program for LEA. So they would determine, looking at personalized learning, blended learning, a variety of options, but it's up to them to really think about how they personalize learning. And it is based on our standards. So I think Sarah could probably speak more specifically. I think she helped put the grant information together.
Yep, I'm happy to help.
Okay.
This is Sarah Young, Director of Strategic Initiatives for USBE. So I'm going to separate the two questions. The specific rule and the amendment that's being proposed to Superintendent Dixon's point follows in line with the legislated grant process associated with establishing a competency-based learning pilot. The minor change was just specific to removing a number associated with the number of planning grants being limited to 3. We had legislation that went through last year that removed that specific requirement, and we just wanted to make sure that the board rule matched the additional flexibility in code. As for the development of competencies, that's actually a project that I am working on with a large group of individuals from the staff. To Board Member Earl's point, it is in alignment with our Utah Portrait of a Graduate, and we are looking to develop grade banded competencies in each of those key areas to be able to more fully flesh out what that looks like. The Portrait of a Graduate document was approved by the State School Board in May of 2019. And we have been moving forward with providing that additional detail and definition as requested by the field and our USBE Competency-Based Learning Advisory Board.
Did you have a follow-up, Member Earl?
Yes. So those competencies will tie back into our standards. In other words, when this group decides what the competencies will be, then they'll bring that to us, and then those will tie back into our standards.
So in regards to the connection to standards, I think it's best if I defer to our Director of Teaching and Learning, Jennifer Thronson. I know she is online, and if she's available to respond, she's really our expert there.
Jennifer, are you available to respond?
I know that she's standing by, sir.
Oh, okay. So she's not in the queue anywhere.
So I just want to make just a little comment. I'm just trying to understand, we're asking for a grant process here, and I understand that. I've gone through that. I've gone through the law. I'm trying to understand where our districts are going in order to get this information to tie into competencies in order to submit their grant and the assessment. That's how this ties in. So I'm just trying to understand as we look at these and they come before us, what we're looking at.
So in waiting for Jennifer, again, this is Superintendent Dixon. If I can just try to simplify it to say the competencies are based on showing how they can demonstrate competency around our standards. So that might be in the form, and again, because I'm not submitting a grant, but it could be in the form of a performance-based assessment or a different kind of assessment, or there are a variety of ways to show that. So as these grantees move into a space where it's not about seat time, but about showing what you know, that's where the connection is to the standard, showing how you can meet that standard or the objective of a particular unit.
This is Deputy Superintendent Patty Norman. Would you like to hear Jennifer Thronson? She can't use the microphone.
I have her unmuted if she'd like to try speaking.
If she can weigh in, that'd be great.
I'm going to hit unmute again. So, Jennifer, can you speak?
I guess because it doesn't let it.
Okay. Can you hear Jennifer speaking?
This is Jennifer Thronson, Director of Teaching and Learning.
Yes, we can hear.
Okay. So from their competency-based grants, they get to propose how they approach developing their competencies. So, for example, Juab and Davis have used the standards to develop competencies that they incorporate into their instruction and have developed their own competencies for that. As the state moves towards developing the ones that Sarah was talking about, more people will be adopting those. But in the meantime, these are our kind of explorers in the world of competency-based education and leading out on the forefront. And so they're developing the competencies and the measures of mastery that align with the competencies that they developed at this time.
Are there any questions?
No, we can move on. I understand the grant process. I'm not questioning that. I'm just trying to understand the basis of, and maybe we're talking about, yeah. Anyways, I'll see if I can seek clarification from staff on a couple of things. So we can move on.
Is there any other questions regarding the motion? You seeing any?
No other hands.
Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve R277-712 competency-based grant programs draft 1 on second and final reading. Okay, we're going to vote on this. Member Belknap.
Aye.
Member Bolter.
Aye.
Member Cannon.
Aye.
Vice Chair Cummins.
Aye.
Member Davis.
Aye.
Member Earl.
Aye.
Member Gravitt.
Aye.
Member Hanson.
Aye.
Member Haynes.
Aye.
Member Lear.
Aye.
Member Marsh.
Aye.
Member Newell.
Aye.
Member Thorpe.
Aye.
And Member Huntsman's an aye. Motion passes unanimously. Please continue.
That ends my report. Thank you.
Okay, is
Chair,
yes.
Do we want to go back to item 8.5 now that it's been posted?
Indeed.
And yes, can we bring it up on our screens here too? And
You may have to.
so can we bring draft 2 up?
Remind me, which was that item 3 point? Was it R277-304? Was that the one?
Yes.
And we have ref 2, yes.
And it's on draft. Yeah, it's draft 2.
Would you like me to have Angie? She's ready.
Angie's ready. Okay.
Yes, Chair, I'm ready. While Sarah is pulling up draft 2, it looks like she's about to do it right now. I'll just briefly, since I apologize that draft 2 was not up on backup, that is our bad, and we apologize. I'll just briefly describe the 3 main changes from draft 1 to draft 2. So if you look on lines 29 through 32, you can see that the definition of competency was amended a bit by the committee. Sarah, if you could scroll down to lines 29 through 32. And then the second change is that we've incorporated by reference.
Let's pause on that first change when she gets it on there. Okay. That's where that change is. Okay, now please continue.
Okay, next, if you move to starting on line 70, we updated the rule to incorporate by reference the educator preparation program competencies for elementary literacy. So draft 1 referenced those competencies, but now we've incorporated that document by reference here on line 70. And then
so it's line 70 on this up on the viewing.
Sarah, could you please move the draft to line 70?
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm getting mine to come back. I'm looking in 2 different places, but whoever's getting to view this, I want to make sure they can see this. Or wait. Okay, can you repeat the changes here again?
Yes. So in draft 1, the rule referenced, meaning it directed towards or asked prep programs to rely on these educator preparation program competencies for elementary literacy, but the document was not incorporated by reference. So now, while the rule refers to those competencies, now the document is uploaded or incorporated by reference and will be filed right along with the rule. So the next change, Chair, if you're ready, let me know. We're going to move to line 218, Sarah. So the lion's share of the discussion from the committee came from this section of what preparation programs should be focused on. And you'll see how the language was changed a bit, and it includes as you see on 227, the educator preparation program competencies for elementary literacy. So that's the document that we just mentioned. And that had previously been referenced on lines 238 and 239. A lot of this is mostly organizational and formatting changes, not really substantive changes from draft 1. And that's it.
That concludes it. So, Chair Lear.
Yes, sir.
Will you repeat the motion on including draft 2, please?
Yes. The committee moves that the board approve R277-712 competency-based programs draft 2 on second and final reading.
Okay. So I'm getting here that the motion before the board is to approve R27. Hold it. Yeah.
I
I
like
think you're on the,
rule number.
what
yeah,
was your motion again? I think I didn't get it.
I know.
It's 8.5 and it's R277304. So
I'm sorry, I read the page in front of me.
yeah. Here we go.
The committee moves that the board approve R277-304 teacher preparation programs draft 2 on second and final reading.
Okay, I would like to get a second on that, just to cover our bases.
I'll second.
Thank you. So the motion before the board is that the board approve R277-304 teacher in preparation program draft 2 on second and final reading. Any discussion to the motion?
I see no hands.
Okay, we will vote. Board Member Belknap,
Aye.
Board Member Boulder,
Aye.
Member Cannon,
Aye.
Vice Chair Cummins,
Aye.
Member Davis,
Aye.
Member Earl,
No.
Member Gravitt,
Aye.
Member Hanson,
Aye.
Member Haynes,
Aye.
Member Lear,
Aye.
Member Marsh,
Aye.
Member Newell,
Aye.
Member Thorpe,
Aye.
and Member Huntsman's and I. Motion passes. Okay, does this conclude your report, Chair Lear?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Thank you.